H are pronounced.
Okay.
Can you pronounce it again?
Sure. Âhūye Kūhī.
Âhūye
Âhūye Kūhī.
Âhūye Kūhī.
Kūhī. Yeah, great.
Âhūye Kūhī.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. You were very specific about the vowels, but I wanted to hear it from
Great. Yeah.
before I felt like I knew how to say it.
Should we go for it?
Like, please. Yay! That's wonderful.
Thanks.
Could you hear okay?
Yeah. It's much better than the first workshop we did. The sound is much better.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me first?
I didn't. I'm sure I didn't count those rests in the beginning so carefully. Is it more of a feeling, or how precise should I be on those?
I don't think it has to be so precise. So, I mean, initially when I wrote the piece, I thought of just putting fermatas. You know how some people have different kinds of fermatas. They have longer fermata. And then I thought it's going to be too many different kinds of fermatas. So I just want to give this feeling of the space shrinking. So, however, it doesn't have to be exact. So don't sweat over that. It's totally fine. One thing I would say, measure 31, when the cello comes in with that kind of interruption. I like it. I don't know how you do it a little differently in measure 52. I don't know how you do it differently, but the way you do it in measure 52, it sounds a little better to me.
Okay.
I want that to be still gritty. So it's still an interruption, but it's just distant. So that's the way I think of the pianissimo and the piano. Think of a catastrophic climate change event that's happening, but it's happening far from you. You're just hearing about it, but you're kind of alarmed by it. That's the way I think about it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think it does, yeah.
Great.
You did it more the second way more the way you usually play it. Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
A little bit.
yeah, so forget that flautano
Okay.
idea.
A little more focused. Maybe. Okay.
Measure 38, so that transition from 37 to 38, I felt it was much better here than the recording. I still feel like it can be a little more smooth. So I don't know if it's, if you need to cut that staccato a little shorter so that you can kind of go right into the harmonic. Is that possible? Like I said in the email, I feel like the harmonic is just the moment that the gazelle is freezing, you know. So it's kind of, it has to happen smoothly from that regular C to the harmonic C.
Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that's working much better. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Yeah. There's all kinds of little things that happen to set up that harmonic. So it's just a small series of hoops for my fingers to jump through to make it happen. But it makes sense. Could we just do it again?
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, that as composers, it's our job to make your life miserable, right?
I appreciate it. I do want to ask at this spot, it feels like when I established the niente harmonic sound, it feels like the peak of the crescendos comes on kind of fast. Like my bow always wants it to be like half a bar later where the peak happens. But is that important that it's like, whoa?
No, I'm glad you tell me that. Just let me know what's a natural place for you and I'll move it there.
Do you want it staggered with the fiddle? Because right now you have him peaking a little earlier than me.
Yes, I think that's very effective, yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, it would feel comfortable if I'm just talking about comfort to have
1 bar later.
1 bar later. Like
And I'll do 1 bar
exactly,
later.
my 3rd bar.
Can we try it with just shifting that peak 1 bar later?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Same thing.
How's that?
That works for me. If it's better for you, that's
That
fine.
does feel more natural.
So it feels a little less chaotic.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't even notice that we were staggered until you brought that up, Leo. So that's actually.
And so for those figures at the beginning, are you doing a flautando, or what is your approach to playing those right now?
I'm really doing flautando.
Yeah.
But could do. Do you like that better?
I like the first one better. I'm just wondering on the longer notes, like when you have a quarter note or a quarter note tied to an eighth note, it's a little longer. Would it make sense to add a little bit of vibrato and then go back to playing it like that once the figure starts?
Vibrato? That's gonna cost you more.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Keyboard.
Let me check my wallet.
Like that? Something like that?
Yeah, but so that I like that sound, but the way you're doing it now is that you're doing a dynamic envelope within the held note.
Yeah, you're right.
I wonder if it can just crescendo within that note all the way to the figure. I love that. That sounds good.
I see, okay.
Was that measure 8 you just played?
I think so. Oh, no, I think I did, yeah, oh, that could be, yeah. So
Yeah.
the beginning, measure 8, 9, that's a piano, starts piano, right?
Yes.
But then before that, at 18, it's like pianissimo.
Yeah.
Do you still want the vibrato at the beginning of?
I think so. Yeah.
You want something like that, where it's,
Yeah. Is it possible to start the vibrato earlier, or is that going to
yeah.
interfere with the pianist?
okay.
I think that sounds much better. Yeah. And the
Whenever-
same with cello. If you have I don't know if you have that F a little longer. Like, do you start it sometimes?
I can vibrato the quarters. I rarely have it longer than that, but I can.
Yeah.
That's Jeopardy.
It's dangerous. But,
Jeopardy.
oh yeah. I thought you were just talking about vibratoing the thumb. The thumb vibrato is always Jeopardy. Double Jeopardy.
Because when violinists see pianissimo, triple piano, we automatically go non-vib. Just so you know.
That's good to know. That's kind of like the pianists with the soft pedal. If we see pianissimo, pianissimo, the soft pedal goes down. And let me see. Measure 142, I had a comment.
142.
Yeah, so in 142, when Lucy finishes playing the D flat and then you start on the C, I felt that you were starting that soft and then crescendoing. And I think in the interest of having a longer phrase that just passes from the violin to the cello, it might be more interesting to just start forte. Like, start at whatever dynamic Lucy is ending at. Does that make sense?
That better. So if I pass, basically.
Well, so I mean, here's a technical / musical question. The most convenient fingering for starting 142 is on the D string, and it's been feeling it's been feeling a little soft. I can play it on the A string, but it may require a little bit of placement of 142 in order for me to get there.
Let's try from can we try from 137? I'll just elongate that a little bit.
Okay, and I'll get myself to the A string.
That's
Yeah,
good,
okay.
yeah.
I thought that sounded better, yeah.
Alrighty. Put a big old first position 2 on that guy.
That sounds great. It's so helpful that you have you have specific things, you know what you want. It's just real. That's so helpful, actually.
Aw.
I can't tell you.
Well, it's magically helpful to have performers that can just do it on the spot. That's amazing.
Sometimes.
Such a privilege.
In 58, you have us in different dynamics. How can we better do what you wrote there?
I'm just trying to think what I was thinking when I wrote it. Yeah, I guess I'm just thinking of the two lines as being more independent, and then
Okay.
because the cello is such a high part and it feels like it should really sing, I just wanted it to stay still under the violin part. What do you feel? Do you feel that it would make sense doing it the same way, or how do you feel?
No. Just wondering if we're doing it the way, if it's effective. I
Yeah.
noticed he has like, when he has that octave, you want him to come out there.
Yes. I think it sounded good. I mean, it's hard to hear the nuances of the balance over Zoom.
Yeah.
So I'm going to trust you with that. If you feel like you need to tweak the dynamics a little bit to make it better, feel free to do that. I'm not that specific, you know.
Okay.
If it makes musical sense to you, it'll make musical sense to me.
Well, should this line, my line in 58, 59, should this be a lyrical line? Or should it be...
I would say so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like more smooth, and I'm more like the gazelle bounding. That's how I was picturing that. As more of my...
Yeah, I mean, I'm more... Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm more thinking of, like at the beginning of the piece, the two instruments are creating the same character together. And this is the part where there's a conflict. So the two of you are... It's kind of like the inner gazelle and the outer wants or needs of it are changing. That's the way I'm thinking of it.
Are you the
So that might be why I thought of having the dynamic markings a little different.
I think it could go either way.
Not getting too philosophical.
Yeah. Should she be the inner gazelle and I be the outer, the environment, or?
Up to you.
Okay.
I mean, I think the lines that are arpeggiating up is more outer for me.
Uh-huh.
Can we just do that one section? Maybe from 56?
Absolutely.
Great. Oh, that was gross. Sorry.
Okay. So, Leo, in measure 63, 4, 5, 6, measure 67, when you come in with that pianissimo F,
Yes.
so that's the same idea as I was explaining to Lucy earlier about you can do a little bit of vibrato. So if you need to think of that as pianissimo or piano, you know, please do.
Okay.
I think you can start with a little bit of vibrato on that note so that it just blends in with what she's doing in the next measure. The two instruments can blend in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then measure 72, I felt that the crescendo started a little early, or it got too loud too early.
Okay.
So if you want to delay the crescendo a little bit, that's totally fine with me. If you want to stay piano a little longer.
I think that was I don't think you did that. It was me that was kind of leading it. So. Did the motion move more like what you were talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And it does, 72 through 73, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5. It crescendos to mezzo forte, right? It doesn't go above mezzo forte and then down.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
Okay.
two mezzo forte.
So like that's our arrival dynamic.
Okay.
Sure, with an accent. So you can think forte.
And then I have another question in this neighborhood about the chord in 84.
Yeah.
So since Lucy has an open A string on the bottom,
Mhm.
I was trying to blend my A with it with no vibrato, so that the A's kind of were in the same sound world of stillness. I can also vibrato it to warm up the whole chord if that's whatever you think is.
Can we try that both ways?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
Can we go from 72?
Sure.
Great. And I'll do no vibrato the first time.
Sure.
And then with vibrato?
That sounded really good to me.
Okay. Figure something else out there.
I think I like the no vibrato better, but what do you think?
I think so.
That's what we had
Okay.
sort of settled on, but
Great.
just wanted to check.
Great.
Unless you wanted to maintain that conflict.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is conflict there, but the music, it has to sound good too, you know. Not all just conceptual.
Could we go right on 84 one time just for me to try a different fingering
Yeah.
at the 3/8? See if it sounds okay. Does that work okay?
That sounds really good to me too. I couldn't tell so much the difference between that and the non-vibrato you did. I felt like it sounded a little louder. Maybe is that right?
Actually, I tried something different at 3/8 because it was so out of tune the last two times we played it.
Yeah, that was good. That felt solid.
I'll just do that. It's a little shiftier, but
Have to remember to vibrato all of those. Rethink it. You have really good ears. You can hear that subtly on Zoom. I'm just impressed.
One more thing I had, I forgot to write it down. I have to look for it. Oh yeah, so when in the 169, where we switch between the 16th notes and the tremolo, I felt that the 7/16 measures were just a touch slower.
okay.
It's totally fine if you do the down, if you're extending the downbeat a little bit, if you need to do that, like just to pause on the downbeat a little bit, that's totally fine. But I think the 16th notes need to be a little faster because I felt like measure 181, that whole passage was just a touch slower than it should be because of how the 16th slowed down.
Okay.
Okay.
Did it feel like, judging by measure 171, did it feel like we had just taken a slower tempo, or was it really about the 7/16 bar?
I think it's the 16th are just a little slower, just a touch.
Okay.
But then as you go into 179, 180, then that just starts dragging, and then the next passage gets slower. That's how I felt. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
I almost imagine a stampede of gazelles like running for their lives here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of these just as interruptions because they happen throughout the piece. You know, we're like in the classical narrative, we're used to having a kind of gradualism. There's always events in the music, and we try to transition from one event to the other. And I'm reading a lot about how in the context of climate change, because there are so many events that are unbelievable, like the Hurricane Sandy, you know, it just blew all the charts. It was in a category that we had not confronted before. We didn't know what to call it. There's going to be a lot of unbelievable things in the narrative framework, and our imagination has to get used to that in order to be able to tell that story. So that's the way I think about this. They feel like interruptions, and they feel almost unbelievable, but you're doing it with a lot of conviction, and if you do it with conviction, you make us believe them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank
Cool. I wonder if 171 you consider doing two down goes like rap bum.
Sure.
That sounds good.
Can we go from 169?
Sure.
Did we confirm B naturals and
Yeah, B naturals, right?
Yes. Yeah. So if you look at the intervallic content of those phrases, the intervals are getting larger by a semitone. So that last interval of the measure is a fifth.
I see, yeah.
Great. Okay, so what bar did you propose?
69?
169.
Oh, one question before we go on. 155, all of those, did those dip enough? The crescendos?
Yeah. I'll listen for it again this time. I didn't listen for it as much last time, but I thought it sounded very musical, that whole passage.
Okay, so maybe from 142?
Yep. Sorry, I turned my page way
It's
too
like,
early.
we need another chance at
Sorry.
that.
I turned it like a whole line too early, and I was like, I think I can do it. And I couldn't do it.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah.
I felt a
Um,
tiny bit out of control, but
I know, I was
nicely
falling.
intense.
I was falling off the rails on that 16-note passage. That 16-note passage is really hard, actually.
I know which one. Which one of the
All
many
this,
hard 16th passages?
for me, anyway.
Yeah, it is.
And then we're in octaves.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think you could probably in the last measure you could slow down a little bit if you want.
Slow down even more.
I think it's musical if you slow. I mean, right now I feel like you're just stretching the very last 16th note. I think if you want to slow down a little bit the whole measure, you can even do that.
Something like that.
You can try, yeah.
Are you
Again, it's one
speaking
of those things. If it's
specifically of 165, or are you speaking of the top of each of the sort of runs?
I'm thinking of 154 and 158.
Okay.
Oh, slow those down.
Just a little bit. Sorry, not 158. Sorry, once again. 150. Yeah, 154 and 158. You could slow those just a little bit down if it's very difficult, and then that also makes that kind of. It makes us understanding more as a phrase. 151 to 154 and 155 to 158. I think.
Around a bone.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Can we try it?
Yeah, what bowing do you end up doing? Do you start 151 up typically?
Let's see, where am I? I'm down, then 147 I'm up, and then 151 I'm down. No, I'm up. I take two bows
Okay.
Then, but I can't. I could take two bows there. Then I would take two bows there. Is it better if we have one bow?
I don't know.
Try.
Well, we can.
Should we try it with the time though? Do you want to hear it with
Yeah,
a
let's
little
try
bit
it
of the time?
Yeah, can I make a comment about the phrase at 142 before you start?
Please.
So
yeah.
I hear that E flat, the low E flat in Leo's part in measure 145, 145, 146. I think you can give that a little more, so it should really feel like a gut punch.
Okay.
And then that B natural that follows after that, I hear that as being part of the next phrase.
Okay.
So dee-dra, dee-da.
Like. Something like that.
Nice.
That sounds good if we can have the A and the E flat still connected, but for the E flat to feel like a gut punch.
How about this?
That sounds much better, yeah.
Okay, so I'll break.
It might be a little too much of a gut punch, but that's the idea.
Okay. It was a very visceral image you gave me.
I like
The
it.
gut punch,
The gut punch, yeah, it's.
you felt the pain.
Just don't expect it. Expect it to be a 4-bar phrase right there. You want to go from there?
Yeah, good.
Sorry. I fell off the rails there.
Sounds good. How does it feel to you?
I think a little time is helpful. I don't know, what do you think?
Either way, I think it's more what, whether you just want things to just accelerate, or if you want to have these, that kind of feeling, kind of.
I mean, I would rather that it's very smooth and that it accelerates, or that not that it accelerates, but that it just all connected. But I realize that it's technically very difficult to get from the very high note all the way down to the low note, like at the end of 154 to 155.
Let me try it one
I
more time.
realize
Let's
how to-
split the difference. Let's not to do so much.
And if I can say one more thing, like 155 and I only did it on 155. I put an accent there. Now that you're starting a little softer, I think you can just get rid of that accent.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I actually do? Can we do 132? Kind of get the tempo.
Yes. Sorry, one more time. I fell off the rails.
So the way I heard it between 154 and 155 sounded amazing. I felt like between 158 and 159 you did it slightly differently.
I don't know what we did.
Maybe you took a little bit more time.
We did more time the second time?
Which one did we take more time?
That's what I felt, yeah.
Okay.
We took more time?
I think
So
he's saying that
154 to 155 you took less time than 158 to 159.
So why don't,
Oh, I think, yeah.
why don't we basically not take time?
Right, yeah. Okay, well, aim for not doing any time.
If you can, if it's too difficult, then we can find a workaround.
We'll take no time, but we'll also try to make it sound good.
Right. Yeah. So, how was the section around 194, 200?
Let me just scroll there. Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, that was really good. When you play the tenuto accent notes in the cello, the sound on the zoom goes a little wobbly, so I can't quite hear them as well. But the pacing and the feeling of it just felt very, very good.
Okay. Do you want me to play them by myself or something to hear them? Maybe then zoom.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
I love the section at
Yeah,
208.
it's fine. I think it sounded good.
I like 208. It's really fun
Right.
to play that. For me, that's really fun. I don't have.
I'm kind of
I don't
busy.
have the 16. He's busy.
I do want to ask 202, 206. Do you want to? Is that sounding how you want, or do you want to add some D string notes for smoothness?
I don't think it needs any more notes unless you feel like that makes it easier to cross the strings. The way you played it today sounded really good.
Okay, let's keep it then. But you could,
Okay.
yeah. If
This
that-
is whether you want dee da da or ya da da. A little bit of internal accents, right? Do something
well,
about
sure. Versus.
I like the first one better.
the first one better.
Was that the internal accent? I think the internal accent sounds good.
Okay.
It needs
So
to
kind
be
of
just
spoken.
very hearty.
Yep. Good.
Can I make a request in measure 231, 232? Can we try having the, Lucy, your part, can we tie that note on measure 231 for a quarter note over into measure 232?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the G, F sharp lasts for another quarter note on the downbeat of 232. Just so that it sounds a little less square. That's completely my fault. I just wrote it very square.
So a quarter? You want a quarter?
Yeah, just a quarter added on the downbeat of 232.
Okay.
And then measure 220 to 221. I still feel like that transition isn't making 100% musical sense. I don't know if it makes sense to you, or how we can make it a little more.
Can we have another chance
We can
at
just
it?
do it again. Sure, yeah.
I might want to now, having done it in the last few contexts, I might want to take another bow. I'm kind of running out of bow.
Yeah, are you in a down bow?
I'm on a down bow to
Okay, so
start.
you know what? I was thinking, yeah.
And then start. Great.
Let's see if that
Let's
works.
try that.
Do you want to go from 216? Is that an awkward spot?
Ready.
Can we just try it once where we connect the 220 to 221 and don't take any time in between?
Yeah.
If that's
Does
possible.
that work on the two bow thing though?
No space at all.
Yeah, the last one you did sounded really good. So I think maybe it's a matter of bowing. Maybe it's hard to crescendo and then have no space.
One bow?
Is that it?
Yeah, then we would have.
That sounds better.
Okay. So maybe we don't rip too much to start.
Yeah, so, I mean, I have the advantage that I'm holding, so I can manage and cheat a little bit and not have to change my bow on a downbeat. You have to change on a downbeat.
Let me get in now.
me try it again. I'll go to vibrato this time.
That's gonna cost them extra.
Wait, are you? Great. I think that sounded much better. Now I have another idea. Sorry. Measure 221 to 225. So you start with this beautiful kind of like lyrical vibrato sound. Is it possible to slow down even more into 225 and then gradually transition to a non-vibrato or flautando, more of a kind of a flat sound, more of a
flat
less
sound
lyrical
in
sound.
226?
No, so into 225. So 221, you start beautiful lyrical with the vibrato, and then gradually less and less vibrato as you get to 225. And then 226, it can be again passionate and vibrato.
I see.
Just for that contrast.
Yeah. Same place?
Beautiful, yeah. I think between 224 and 225, those half notes you can take even more time.
Okay.
I don't think you can take too much time there.
Okay.
You can do too much of a ritenuto. That was beautiful. So are you clear about what we're doing at 232? The change we did, Lucy?
Oh. Yes. I got it too.
Okay.
All right.
So the note at
so
231 will be
thinking
tied over to.
Okay. Right. Sorry about that. Terrible.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I want you to hear it. So, should we go from 226?
And 226.
Sure.
Will it feel like a bump up in dynamic, or at least a bump up in warmth or something? Is that
Absolutely.
okay? It's I guess what I'm asking you is it's definitely a color change, right? It's not going to seamlessly blend in. Okay.
I would say definitely a color change from what you did just before.
Two bars?
That worked really well for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. That little change, actually, yeah. I like it. I have to circle it.
Great.
Oh,
I had one more comment earlier on. I'm just going to go back to see if I can find it. Oh yeah, It's in measure 97. Leo, in your part, I felt that, is it a D flat on the downbeat of measure 97? You're playing it as a 16th note. I think you can hold that just a little longer, so just treat it like an 8th note.
You got it. Yeah, thank you. I definitely was. Maybe I'll do a different go.
Great, yeah. Great. That's all I have to say. It sounds really, really good.
Oh, I'm excited to. I really like your piece. It's really beautiful. It just.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
There's so much in it that. But it's. I mean, in a good way. I don't mean. It's really. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to work with you. I don't know where you're recording it or how it is. I think with this piece, even if you're recording it in a small space, if you can add just a little bit of reverb to the recording, it'll make a big difference.
My son's doing all the editing, and he will do all that, and then I'll send you a draft of the edit so you can hear it, and you can say I want to add or whatever. But we're going to have 3 mics. We're going to have, each of us will have a mic, and then we'll also have just the Zoom, those Zoom machines for the room ambiance kind of sound to help fill it out. It's the best we can do.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, that sounds very elaborate. Thank you so much for doing this, Lucy, for coming up with this project, envisioning it, and both of you, beautiful playing. It's just such a pleasure to work with you.
Well,
Thank you.
the pleasure's ours. Thank you.
I'm glad this worked out.
Yeah,
All
thank
right,
you.
so
All right.
we're gonna try to do this next week, right? Yeah, we're gonna try to do this next week. So I'll be in touch with you at the end of the next week.
Okay,
All
I
right.
look forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Iman.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good day. Thank you.